You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network. Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Center, this is Phoenix FM.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share facts.
According to the Nerd Index, you should be upside down in a junior high toilet around the clock.
This is We'll do it live! Time goes in, time goes out. Never miscommunication.
It's over 9,000! My name is Foxy.
The balls are in there. Do a barrel roll. Don't faze me, bro. It's a trap. I'm a firing memory. Time to do. Hey, Charlie, wake up. Oh, God, oh, man.
Hello everybody, welcome to Phoenix 92.5 FM. My name is Darragh Connor. You're listening to a very special edition of Nerd to Know Bases and the Wrestling Rewind. This is our non-canon crossover special spectacular with myself and of course my co-host, the reigning, defending, undisputed 1-0, Mr. Martin Herty. How are things, Martin?
Grand, how's she gotten?
Good, fierce rambunctious.
Fierce rambunctious, as it
So,
always
folks,
should be.
Exactly. So folks, if you're listening to us on this slot and you're like, oh, where's Nerd to Know Bases? Well, this is Nerd to Know Bases for this week. The folks weren't able to do a show this week. We want to do something a little bit different. So this is a non-canon crossover special between the two shows where if you don't get a chance to check it out today, it will be going out on our normal time slot and then we'll be back to normal. So obviously we do the rewind every Friday, live on the internet at 10:30 over on our YouTube and Twitch. But it's at 8 p.m. on Tuesdays on the show. So obviously you can check it out there as well. And we cover, Martin, what do we cover on the rewind?
We cover, the idea is that it's kind of classic wrestling, but if something comes up, if something's really good or really big happening, in modern wrestling, whether it's WWE or AEW, we'll give that a go as well.
Yeah,
but it's all wrestling, whatever the wrestling is. And
at the moment now, we're halfway through, almost the end of WCW. We're at like WCW 2000.
The very end, almost there.
So this is your first show checking us out. Go over to Nerd to Know Media, and they're all there, nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Our last WCW show we did was described as the last good pay-per-view WCW had, and it was not good. So.
Well, no, there was that one segment now. Come on.
Yeah, there was. Okay.
It was the greatest wrestling segment of all time. So, that's not a
with
good
David Flair.
With David Flair, folks. If you haven't checked that out, you have to listen to our. That was like 2 hours, man. We talked for 2 hours on that.
Oh, and I just had to go to bed because I had training the next morning.
It was funny. So I was talking to my bassist in Horrenda, and he's a big OSW fan. We have to get him on the show at one point actually. He's a big wrestler, Mark. And I was telling him about our Bookily list.
Excellent.
And I was, obviously legally distinct from OSW, so we don't get,
completely separate, not
completely
trademarked.
separate, legally distinct. And he was saying, I was like, right, so who would you describe as a Bookily? And he's like, Scotty Duhati. And I'm like,
oh yeah,
Scotty Duhati's a perfect Bookily right there.
And Scotty Duhati is in Ireland. He's doing a couple of OTT shows in Dublin and Belfast.
Man. We have to get an interview with him and see and make him a Bookily shirt and give it to him.
Oh yeah,
I think it'd be awesome.
And not explain to him what it means.
Just be like, this is for you.
What's Bookily? Legend means legend.
Icon of the ring. Oscailga. Oh man, I think this is a great idea. We got to do this.
I went to see Bret Hart up in Belfast, and I tried to get a hurl. I wanted to present him with a wee hurl that had the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be in Irish inscribed on it. And it turns out to get that translated into Irish is nearly bloody impossible because of the way sort of grammar and nouns and that work in Irish. There has to be, you can't just say the best there is. There has to be an object that is the best.
Yeah.
So it ended up being like it just wasn't the snappy headline it was. It ended up being like this long-winded haiku.
But to be fair, Gaelic is actually quite cool. The way it's like when you actually understand it, and I think a lot of it is from. I know we're getting completely off topic, but I mean it is pretty cool when you look at certain things like names of places make way more sense when you translate them back to Gaelic.
Yeah,
because they don't make any sense in English. Like it's like that makes no sense, and then you translate it back. Like, oh, for example, there's a place in Meath called Nobber, right? Right. It makes no sense, right? But when you translate that back to Irish, it comes from Ober, the place of work. Because there was a big work site there. So everyone said that's where the workplace is. So it just means the workplace. But it makes no sense in anglicized English. But anglicized Irish, it's weird.
But it's the same where I live. Like Forkhill is like Forkhill. What the hell of the forks was it? No, but it's Forkhill, which is the tree fort.
It's so cool.
Ring of trees. Newry, like Newry, that's just a noise. But it comes from Uri Kintra, the yew tree at the end of the strand. Like it's why even if you're not an Irish speaker, and I'm not an Irish speaker, I only have a couple of fuckle. I think it's important to have a basic understanding of it, to know those like where those origins are.
When I was in school, I was terrible at Irish. I'll be honest with you. I learned Irish after learning Latin when I was in college, and then Irish made sense to me because it kind of works in a similar way. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And I think it's important and like we're on a community radio station now. I think it's important for everyone to kind of like know what these things mean, because it gives you that place of understanding of where you are. You know, like we're in Blanchardstown, you know, and I'm going to look up what Blanchardstown goes back to, but I'm pretty sure there's some Irish word in that and explains it, you know.
And to circle us all back in, one of the earliest languages of wrestling was Irish, because part of pro wrestling comes from the old Irish collar and elbow. It does
indeed. And
see, people thought we were just rambling. We knew where we were going, folks.
Here's the thing, folks. We did a panel. You didn't do a panel, but I do want to get you on the next one, Martin, when we do it. Everything is wrestling, where we did it for Comic-Con. We're going to do it again for the next one, where you know, basically we get people to shout certain things and we have to relate it back to wrestling. It's the most fun panel ever. I love doing it. So we're going to do it with the next one, Martin. We have to come down for it. You absolutely have to.
Excellent. Yeah,
but yeah, it's Keen. Like Keen doesn't, obviously the host of Nerd to No Basis, one of the hosts, he doesn't watch wrestling. He knows nothing about wrestling. And that's the fun of it. So he's like the straight man, and then it's me and Bryn, you know, trying to relate it back, and it's great. So I mean, we're going to do it for the next Comic-Con. So if you guys haven't had a chance to see it, go to our YouTube channel and it's there and you'll be able to watch it. It's an awful lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Excellent.
Speaking of fun things, or questionable fun things, wrestling video games. So Martin, sometimes we go on our tangents on the show, and I mean Nerd to No Basis is a show that's based on tangents, but our wrestling show is a bit more focused. You know, we have a show plan sometimes. we gotta follow it, you know.
We scribble things on scraps of paper.
We have notes, you know. Like you need to have notes when you're watching WCW, guys. Come on, from 2000s.
Oh God, yeah.
So wild.
Because if you didn't have it written down in front of you,
you wouldn't believe it.
You'd be like, I'm remembering that wrong. That didn't happen.
Yeah, no. And then when you're trying to do quotes and stuff as well, you're like, no, I need to make sure this is actually quoted exactly verbatim as it was said. So but for Nerd to No Basis, we usually just have random topics. So I mean, when we go on that where we're like, oh, let's talk about video games, blah 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 blah, I was like, you know what, this is a perfect idea to do a show on this. And like, you know, it's one thing that like a lot of people who are wrestling fans are gamers as well. Is a huge crossover, also a huge metalhead crossover. As I was saying, we were talking last week. I was gigging a lot last week, and I'm gigging this weekend as well. And oh man, everyone's a wrestling fan. Everyone you talk to, it's crazy.
Is that are you noticing that again as in a resurgence, or has it always been that way? Is it going up, or?
No, I think it's always been that way. I mean, like a lot of the wrestling fans you talk to who would be metalheads hate WWE, modern WWE, and love AEW. I mean, it makes sense, you know, but like obviously WrestleMania was on, so you know everyone wants to talk to you about WrestleMania, you know, and again it's that kind of thing where you're throwing out the signal to be like, hey, are you a wrestling fan? And you're like, oh, and it's the whole thing, you know. And just in the metal community, it seems to be a lot more, you have a much better shot of someone being a wrestling fan, you know, because I mean, like, there's a lot of like you finally saw some of horrendous stage stuff, and that's all. It's all pro wrestling, you know.
I think the good thing with metal as well is that if you're trying to see if someone's secretly a wrestling fan, you can throw up the old too sweet.
That happened the other day. So
if they don't know what you're talking about, you can just pretend you were giving them the devil horns the whole
true.
time.
I was actually
covered.
I was in a bar the other day, and your man had an NWO shirt, and I was like, "Man, your shirt is too sweet," and it was a whole thing, and it was great. So I mean,
I was in the gym the other morning, and I wear my AEW hoodie to the gym,
right?
And it's not just like a free j, it's a class we do. But there was a guy there the other morning, and he had a hoodie on, but it was a WWE hoodie.
Right.
And so we were batting away doing the class or whatever. And at the end of it, I walked up to him and I said, "Does Cody miss us yet?" And he said, "What?"
Oh.
And I pointed at my shirt. I was like, "Does Cody miss us yet?" He looked at me like I was talking gobbledygook.
See, because man, AEW doesn't exist for a lot of people, particularly if you're wearing a WWE hoodie. Like, I mean, look, no, if you're wearing a WWE hoodie and it's not from the Attitude Era, I'd have questions. I'd be like,
yeah, it was proper.
Yeah.
WW. There was no F. Like.
Yeah. I mean, he just knows what's on what's a BT Sports.
Monday nights.
Monday nights. Actually, TV3 has wrestling. I mean, look,
does it?
Yeah, here's the thing, right? It's never been a better time. WWE has never been more accessible to us in Ireland than it is now, and I wouldn't watch it if someone paid me. Legitimately, you can watch it on TV3. It's also on the streaming service, which I can't remember the name of, and it's just there. You're like, class. I wish it was good though.
What I never understood. What I never understood how neither RTE nor TV3 never just struck, because you ever seen any of those OTT big shows? They are great looking professional stuff.
Man, come here though. Look, not to get too much into it, like crossover with the metal scene. I actually did an interview on this radio station about that. Yeah, last night I went out, check out Ian McWilliams' show, Rebel Radio, but the All Ireland Metal Project. That's a huge thing, and Hot Press picked it up, and no one else picked it up. So I mean, that's why. If it doesn't exist, if it doesn't exist in their preview, same with movies though. You know, when you're like trying to pitch a movie to even in Hollywood, like it's very, very hard now because they need to have some kind of reference point. So before the Marvel universe, what was your reference point for a successful movie? Batman. That's why there's a rake of Batman and Superman movies, But now you can make a movie about a talking raccoon, and they'd be like, "Is it a Marvel book?" Yeah, okay, there you go. Here's millions of dollars.
Like, I wanna do a haunting, really deep, personal look at the people most affected by the famine, and the Netflix crowd go, and how does that fit into the metaverse? It doesn't.
Well, Netflix have lost a rake of money there recently. Their stock fell through the floor. So I think the days of Netflix making everything is kind of over.
And they're walking around baffled. They're like, "Oh my God, like how is this happening?" And then you have all those lunatic commentators on Twitter, and they're like going, "Oh, it's because you're woke. It's because you're so woke. You're making all these woke movies." And it's like, no, it's because there's a cost of living crisis. People are cutting out non-essentials, and you keep raising your goddamn prices.
And they also make garbage.
And you don't make.
I mean, it's not woke garbage. Well, look, it may or may not be, but it's still garbage. Like, it's woke or not. It's
if it was like, woke quality, you'd be happy enough.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Just make something good. Like, it's all you got to do. Although we say the same thing about wrestling all the time. It's like WWE make something good. Oh no, you don't want to do that. Okay, but WWE exists. Here's the thing: Netflix exists. And it was the banner holder of streaming services for a while. But the thing about it is, there is always sailing the high seas, which is always an option. That existed before, it exists again, and that's what's happening. I mean, like streaming services I have, man. Amazon Prime because it's free Amazon delivery, right? Basically, and also Amazon Prime usually isn't that bad. WDB Network because we do this show, and then I have Shudder because Shudder's class. And I like horror movies.
Yeah.
And
I love horror movies.
Oh, and
can't watch them. Girlfriend
really?
It would ruin her evening, so there's just no point in me.
That's fair. And Gaia, I have the mad head case one where everything is aliens. You know, I mean, like I love it. I think it's great. I mean, like what Guy is the mad stuff at 3 a.m. on old History Channel where everything is aliens, but they all take it incredibly seriously. And if you want to watch a 9-hour documentary on the Sumerian Anunnaki, they're like, here you go. Here's more. Here's 45 hours of it, and you're like, yes, I am here for this. So I mean, that's what.
Before we tear into the into the computer games, like genuinely, I don't get how RTE, because they only do their shows once a month, don't they? OTT.
Yeah, it's about that. Yeah.
Send down a couple of cameras. It wouldn't cost you beans, and like, you know, you get a couple hours of content. Give it its spot once a month. You know, it just baffles me how the.
You know what's going to happen? TV Channel 4 will come in and figure it out one day, and then they'll buy them.
Yep, and then everyone will be like, "Oh my god, OTT! It's the best British wrestling corporate."
You have to go to Dairy Girls, Father Ted.
Oh yeah, great British comedy. Dairy Girls, Father Ted. Oh,
yeah. I mean, but you know, a big part of this show is making fun of RTE because how can you not? And they do it all the time. I mean,
because if you didn't laugh, you'd cry.
You'd cry. Yeah, you'd cry. Again, the most bizarre thing in the world is with RT's player. RT player is our streaming service. I use that term very, very loosely. And it only works for the ads.
It doesn't really work as a stream. It's like a constant, like continuous flow. You know,
it's a buffer until the ads come. For Kerrygold, if you want ads for Kerrygold, it'll have them like you wouldn't believe.
Or RTE isn't so much of a stream. It's more of like one of those canals where you have to stop every couple of hundred feet with the gates to let the water. Yeah.
But as I said, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you know, it is what it is, you know. But I don't know why they don't just buy or OTT, you know, or do some kind of deal. But look, it is what it is. As I said, from doing the All Ireland Metal project, again, stuff doesn't exist straight away in front of your preview, man. They're not gonna get it. So hopefully you'll get bought eventually. But we're gonna try work for OTT more on the rewind. So keep it locked for that. Now, switching gears to wrestling video games. So look, I don't know what we haven't really planned this out first. We haven't really talked about this before, but we are big gamers. We kind of went on some tangents on some shows before. At the moment, your big platform is the Switch, man, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I play most. Well, that's the newest one I have. I'm still a fair regular player of my 360, GameCube, and N64.
So how far did you go back? What was the first console you had?
I had a Sega Mega Drive.
Oh, brilliant. Me too.
Sega Mega Drive, and I had, I think I had the Royal Rumble on it.
I never had any wrestling games on the I think like the first like wrestling game I had was Warzone for the PlayStation 1. WWF Warzone.
Oh yeah.
And then Attitude. I remember Attitude came out, sorry, and I still have the limited edition memory card with WWF Attitude on it.
Oh, class.
Yeah, it was very, very cool. I had Owen Hart in it. It was just released just after Owen Hart died. I'm like,
oh god,
that's a bummer. You know, that's really sad.
And he might be about to be back if
if they can work out a deal.
If he's in the AEW game.
That's true. You know. And they have worked out a deal. So I mean, it's more likely that he'll be in the AEW game than in a WWE game. I don't think he's ever going to be in a WWE game again.
No, I wouldn't imagine so. But I mean, they're doing the Owen Hart tournament. There's obviously going to be the presentation of the Owen Hart Cup. There's a lot of kind of nods and winks that it's either going to be Brett or Martha who presents it. So, and obviously they have the Owen Hart T-shirt. So I mean, it would make sense. God, wouldn't it be lovely if he was like the last hidden character in the game? Like you got to beat the whole thing, and then you get
or a pre-release character. That's the way I do it.
Yeah,
pre-order.
That's the. I don't know if that's a generation or not. That we're a big generation difference, but I was always a generation behind with computers. So I'm still of the mentality that when you buy the game, you get the entire game.
Oh yeah, no, I'm like, look, I love that as well. That's the way it should be. But I mean, they're still gonna make money.
It's not the reality.
It's not, and it's like if you have to do it that way, at least do it in such a way that it's like the one thing I will have to say about the new WWE games in general is their actual DLC drops are quite good. I mean, if you buy the season pass, you kind of get everything, and luckily enough, I was able to get the whole thing for a review. But and thank you to 2K for that. But their release drops are quite good. It's not like some games where it's like, here's 2 characters now, go away, and just slam the door in your face.
And do you just have to download them, or do you have to pay for them?
If you get a season pass, it just auto downloads.
See, that bugged me so much.
Yeah, no, it's fair. I mean, like, look, there's a bit of a generational gap between us, but it's not huge.
It's probably pretty significant in terms of the actual console generations.
Fair.
Because, like I said, I went from Xbox 360, and then I just played all my old consoles until I got the Switch.
Oh yeah, no, that would be
a year and a half ago. So
yeah, that would be significant. I mean, like, I still love the 360. The 360 is probably my favorite of any modern console. I think it's brilliant. It really is. The games, it's just it's untouchable. PlayStation 4 was okay. I went from the 360 to the PlayStation 4, then got a PlayStation 5, and I'm like, it sits over there, and it's all right. I mean,
you're one of the few who managed to get.
Well, that's because there was that Twitter thing that had it, and it was like dirt cheap. I was like, yeah, man, I'll get it. Yeah. So I mean, if you want one, you can get one pretty easily. If you just, there are ways on Twitter. There's someone they just anytime there's a drop somewhere, you just go in and get it. But yeah, like the Xbox 360 had some of the best games. But I mean, as I said, for me, I didn't play any of the games before the PlayStation 1. And PlayStation 1 is when I started playing wrestling games. It's because, I mean, like, I had the Mega Drive. I loved it. It's my, played it to death, really. But then I started, like, realizing, there's more out there. You start kind of, like, I think the PlayStation 1 changed gaming as a whole. Like, it really did. And that's, Warzone, Attitude, SmackDown 2.
It's mad when you think.
And also, all the WCW games then as well, obviously.
Oh yeah, of course. And some of the WCW, I mean, we'll get into it, but some of the WCW games were awesome.
Yeah.
But it's mad when you think just how different the whole gaming world would be if Nintendo had taken up Sony's offer to make the N64.
Well, look, that's true. I mean, before we get into the obvious one, like, I loved WCW Mayhem. I actually bought WCW Mayhem with my communion money.
Nice.
Yeah, so I mean, that kind of shows you how old I was when that came out. And Backstage Assault was horrendous. It was horrendous at the time, and it was awful. But I mean, I never had an N64. I have one now, but obviously I have no attachment to it. But Hardcore Revolution was the one I really liked, and Anarchy Rules on the PlayStation. I mean, because you used to have to go up to the market and get the dodgy
those
chip.
are the old ECW games.
The ECW one, yeah. And I remember, I don't know if you guys remember the dodgy chip that everyone had, where you'd have to copy games, and that's how you'd run the games, and you'd disc swap. So I got to play like a rake of these games at like a massive fraction discount, because obviously you'd go up to the market and that's where you got them, back in the day.
See, because I always loved Nintendo.
And you couldn't do that with the carts. You couldn't do that.
Couldn't do, and I'd go down and I'd see my friends, and they'd have like their PlayStation with the chip in it, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I just went to Jonesboro." I don't know anyone who knows. Jonesboro is a big, fairly illegal market on the border.
These markets, markets are kind of gone now, man. That's one thing that was like,
kind of gone now.
Kind of gone now, yeah.
But I'd have to save up for months to buy a game. I remember saving for months to get a Jet Force Gemini.
Right.
And then my friends or my cousins would be like, "Oh yeah, Mal took us to Jonesboro the weekend. We got, here's 5 games. Like,
5 games. Yeah.
I mightn't get 5 games in the whole year.
See, that was it. Yeah.
There's 5 games for a tenner.
Yeah, that was wild. It was wild. And again, like, that was I think that's why why N64 Nintendo did it. Because they're like, we can defeat piracy by making it very. And I'll be honest with you, cracking Nintendo consoles is difficult. It's not difficult, but I mean, it's not easy. I mean, it's still quite hard to do. I remember when we were in, when I was in Maynooth, the Computer Science Society, we used to like hack 3DSs for fun. We'd do like hackathons where you'd like hack them in groups, and it's hard. It's not as easy as hacking something else. But I mean, you do it obviously for educational purposes. Don't try it at home. But try in a computer lab when you can write it off as a college assignment, which is what we did. And yeah, man, like it makes sense. Nintendo's always been really good with their piracy control because they're just like, here's a big block of plastic with a chip in it compared to a disc, which is what defeated the Dreamcast. Because the Dreamcast, again, you just burn it the right way and there you go. And there were some great wrestling games on the Dreamcast. Now, I don't know if you played Dreamcast before. I love the Dreamcast.
I played it. I didn't own one, but a friend of mine always was the kind of odd outsider. So he bought a Dreamcast. He got big into what were they called? Do you remember the mini discs?
Oh, the mini disc. Yeah.
Mini discs. Like everyone else it was either CD Walkmans or it was just before like MP3s and that came out. But he saw the mini discs. He was like, "That's the future."
Oh, so he really was just the outsiders. Like whatever else anyone's going for, I'm just gonna go for the opposite.
Got big into Blu-ray.
Oh man, he's like, no Blu-ray for me. I'm going for high definition DVDs, and you can only get Batman and Robin, and that's it. And that's the only disc I've ever seen that is HD. That's Batman and Robin. That's it.
And he was always right. Like it probably was the better technology.
It
just wasn't the better marketed stuff, you know.
Like
so
the Dreamcast is the greatest console that's ever been made, legitimately. Like I mean, for its time, it's arcade perfect, right? I mean, like you play a Dreamcast port, you're playing the arcade basically, right? It's a high definition PlayStation 1 basically. So when you're playing the ECW games are on it, you're playing that, and the WWE games are on it as well. I mean, you're playing perfect running games, you know, no glitches, no nothing. But they're not marketed well, and also the piracy thing was ridiculous. So that's hilarious. It really is.
That was the end.
But yeah, so look, and then there was kind of this big jump between PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2 where like I remember playing Just Bring It and being like, oh whoa, got it for Christmas one year. I got my PlayStation for Christmas, PlayStation 2 for Christmas, and Just Bring It came out. And I was like, whoa, this is unreal, you know? And then Shut Your Mouth came out and you're like, whoa, this is unreal. And then Here Comes the Pain came out and you're like, this is the greatest game ever. Right? And then it kind of went quiet for a while, and there's SmackDown versus Raw series, and yeah, they were cool. I really like SmackDown versus. I like 1 and 2. I love 2006 so much that it came out for the PlayStation Portable, and I still play it to this day because it's GM mode on it. You know,
it never caught on as much SmackDown versus Raw as a series of games. It never caught on as much as either 2K or the series of SmackDown, Know Your Role, Here Comes the Pain, Shut Your Mouth, all those.
And you know, some of them are pretty bad. I'll be honest with you. Like some of them were not great. Legends of WrestleMania was not great, but I mean, they were just kind of.
I actually had it.
I had it, and I had like pretty much all the Xbox 360 ones I have. I have a signed 2007 one on the PlayStation 2 by William Regal and Fifth Finley. I met them in GameStop a couple of years ago. Yeah, they were super nice. I'll have to dig it out and take a picture. It's somewhere in my stack of games. Actually, it's not there. It's over in my PlayStation games store over there. And yeah, man, that was cool. But like, a lot of these games just kind of fell into meh, you know, like. And then I start digging through the older games.
I think it's partly because they know that what sells a lot of these games is the license.
Yeah.
So you can make a pretty crappy. I mean, 2K20 is the standard bearer. You can make.
I like 2K20. Game. I'm just saying. I think 2K20 is the greatest game ever made.
Well, but is it for the same reason that you love late WCW?
No. Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. It's wonderfully broken.
But the point is, you can make these games fairly quick, and the license alone, the WWE name on it alone, guarantees that it will sell a certain amount.
So I don't remember what 2K it was. I think it was like 16 or 15. I wrote a review as a joke for a magazine I was working for at the time, where the whole thing was a Simpsons reference. Like it was a joke. Like it was a 4-page article where the whole thing was a joke, where it was like Malibu Stacy, she has a new hat, but she has a new hat, you know, and that was the joke because that's what they wear for a while. So yeah, I don't remember which one it was. It was for a terrible one anyway.
I mean, I don't agree with so I don't think the whole 2K partnership. Even I know you're saying 2K22 is very good.
It is legitimately.
I don't think the 2K partnership is a good idea. Because I don't think you need a wrestling game every year.
No,
Um,
like, but here's the thing: it's like FIFA. You don't need FIFA either. Like the only
No.
thing about it is, at least with the wrestling games, and I will have to say, compared to a FIFA. Now, I'm not a football fan, right? Shock horror, but all they do is just update the roster, and
Yeah.
sometimes they don't even do that. And I mean, from a game design level, you're just taking the code base, changing one or two names, and there you go. And I mean, there are videos online where you can see people have done that. I mean, if you were to look at the code base, it would probably be identical. All right.
That's
But
why
at
I've
least,
been. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, but at least with the 2K games, they do kind of add things. Like 2K19 is probably one of the best wrestling games, like legitimate wrestling games ever. It's fantastic. And what's cool is when you get them for the PC, people have modded them. So I mean, there are AEW games out there now that are modded that are based on 2K19. You can, you have a decent PC, you can go and play these games. And I mean, that's cool. But then the argument is, well, why should you have to make your own wrestling game? Some people like to code them. I mean, modding's a huge thing. But
massive! There
it's
are
huge.
amazing, and I'm jealous that I'm not more computer literate and more into this, because there are unbelievable looking modded versions of No Mercy out there that I would just give my left arm to play.
Well, that's how
then I wouldn't be able to play it.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, give away other things, not things you need to play.
My left foot. Sorry.
Yeah.
Left foot.
But yeah, no, I mean, that's how I got into wrestling modding. That's how I discovered emulators. Actually, my friend Chris was like, "Oh, let's play No Mercy." I'm like, "Oh, what's that?" Because we had like AJ Styles and everything. I'm like, "Oh, that's weird," And then so they had built, and this was what 10, 15 years ago. But now you can just get them, and I mean, there are ways and means to get them. You buy the game and then you mod it. Like, but from an actual console release, you don't really get that with the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, or the Xbox games. It's mainly as PC. So I mean, that kind of sucks for everybody, And it's weird now. Like as I said, I'm really enjoying 2K22, but I mean, next year would I buy 2K? Would I buy the new one? I don't know. I mean, it would have to be a marked improvement. But to be fair, if your worry is 2K20 is a better 2K20, yes. By a country mile, by anyone's country mile, by a planet. Yeah, it is. It works. It's great. There's a lot more modes in it. It's cool,
I think one of the things that has me sort of quietly confident about the AEW game is the fact that they don't have a hard deadline. They're not sort of rushing to get it out on time.
Yeah.
They are just building the game, and the game will be ready when it's ready. I sort of get the feeling that it's not going to be. It's like you're going to have this game, and they'll probably come out with DLCs and
obviously, yeah.
But I think once this game comes out, I think that's your AEW game for a few years.
I mean, look, the way I would do it is I would release, and this is what I think. I don't know why football games don't do it, but release a good game, release a good build every 5 years, and then release DLC.
Amazing, yeah.
And there you go. And I mean, like, okay, you have your core game. Because if the code base is the same, you're not going to break it. You only really need to update it every 3 to 5 years, realistically.
And spend that 3 to 5 years making a sequel that's worth buying, that's different, that's
and that's kind of what I think AEW should do. If they're going to do it, like, right, have your core game and then DLC. And again, we've said this, the DLC could be like what I would do. Your DLC is your New Japan. Your DLC is your Impact Wrestling.
Yeah.
Your DLC is your Ring of Honor. Your DLC is your...
Well, Ring of Honor is a really good one. Maybe it's too late in the development process, but I hope they can put Ring of Honor into it.
Well, they probably notice what I'm saying. If you do it that way, you can have your DLC. Like, you can actually just strike up a deal with Impact, going, look, lads, you're never getting a game again. But
I would time it with the show. I would be like a month ahead of Blood and Guts. I'd be like, Blood and Guts DLC coming out,
Yeah.
But have you heard because if you haven't, it'd be interesting to get your take on it. Have you heard what the name of the AEW game is going to be?
Fight Forever, isn't it?
AEW Fight Forever, yeah. What do you think?
Kind of hate it.
Do you?
Yeah.
I quite like it. It's like, to me, it goes back to the likes of Shut Your Mouth, No Mercy,
I don't know.
Here Comes the Pain. It's not just the yearly update.
Yeah, I mean, Actually, that's a very. I didn't think of it. It just kind of comes off as cheesy, like real cheesy. So I would have been like all in, or double
Well,
or something like
I
that.
assumed they'd just call it Dynamite, but
Yeah, I mean, I thought it means he wants something kind of a little bit different, and I mean, all right, fair enough.
But that's another thing that makes me think it's going to be something that sticks around, and
Yeah,
then
'cause the name.
whenever the next game comes out in a couple of years, it'll be something else. AEW.
WWE
This
presents
is
AEW.
awesome, or AEW. Hopefully not. Jesus. God, back to watching old classic wrestling for me.
Yeah. Well, it's back to the network for me. Oh man. But okay, right. So let's kind of go through some of our favorites here because we kind of talked generally about it and where it is, right? So let's do this, Martin. So top 5 in no particular order if you were to recommend games that like people should play.
Okay.
So we'll you do one, I'll do one, and we'll go back and forward.
Okay. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go first. Yeah, go on.
Okay, so the rest of these will be in no particular order.
Okay.
But for me, and I know this is always a bone of contention between Nintendo and Sony fans, for me, WWF No Mercy to this day has never been bettered. Is just the best wrestling game I've ever played. It's like that old that Simpsons meme, with Homer walking down the street kicking a can going, I don't even know why they need to release new wrestling games. Everybody knows they achieved perfection with No Mercy.
Well, I mean, so if anyone doesn't know who No Mercy is, one, you're probably not listening to the show. Or actually, you probably are because we're on there on a basis, but you're definitely not listening to the rewind. So No Mercy was released in 2000. It was made by Akai. The Japanese wrestling company or development company, electronics company that made WCW, NWO, Thunder and Revenge, right? So if you haven't played those games, they're actually really good too. They're basically the exact same game, but with a WCW skin. You can get them on the PlayStation N64, and all that was perfected with WWE's No Mercy, which again, like, I agree. For me, I don't have the nostalgia for it because I didn't grow up in the N64. I hate the controller as well, so the controller does me mad when I play it.
Oh, sacrilege.
No, it's not. I'm sorry, it's not. It's the worst.
I think
it's the worst one ever.
I think it's just because I grew up with it, and I mean, I played my N64 to death.
That's fair. I can't. I hate it so
and I think
much.
it's just muscle memory. It feels natural to me, the 3 prongs. It does.
No,
it's so
doesn't.
weird.
No, it doesn't. It's so weird.
It feels so natural to me.
No.
I'm getting the
Stockholm syndrome.
I'm getting the what do you call it? The updated version of it for the Switch. You
Oh,
get an old
God.
N64 controller and play your Switch with it. As soon as they come back on the market.
So I hacked an Xbox. The original Xbox is the best emulation machine ever, right? And I have an N64. I have emulating N64 is really hard to do, even today. I mean, if you have a really good computer, you're still going to have a problem with it. The only thing that actually runs N64 games,
even
well,
Nintendo can't do it properly because the Switch Online is dung.
The only one that works is an original Xbox. So buy an original Xbox, and I love it. It's great, and I'm the same with the original Xbox controller. I like the Duke, the big one, But that's how I play them because I can't do them any other way. But yeah, sorry, that's a tangent. No, look, it is great. It's a really good pick, man.
I have to say what I think I love about it, and what puts it over the edge for me, because I would always go down to my cousins and my friends, and they would have Here Comes the Pain. And I get what they loved about it. I have to admit that the SmackDown games were much flashier than
crisper.
WrestleMania 2000 and No Mercy. They were much flashier. And they had a much more realistic aesthetic, whereas the N64 one was slightly blocky. But what got it for me was that, see all that stuff, see throwing someone off the cage and, off the cell and through the fire, and you could do all that on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
That all got old fairly quickly.
Right.
But what kept No Mercy going was the gameplay is so perfect. It's so brilliantly balanced, and all the moves in it feel like they have weight to them. They feel like you're like there's an impact to them. I always found the SmackDown games and even modern games, I find them a wee bit floaty. The N64 games always had weight and impact to them, and that meant that once you got past all the flash, once you got past the cool entrances and the real videos and the higher quality thing of music, once it came down to just having matches, I could sit and play that game all day.
Fair. No, absolutely fair. I'm going to go with a different pick. I really like the games on the Xbox. So Raw 2 is super fun. For the same reason that you said. It's flashy kind of, but it's just the gameplay is great. I mean, me and my friend had a ZZW style match where we had 50 chairs in the ring just to see what would happen. And I just think that's really fun. Now, is it the best wrestling game? No. But it is really fun. Like Raw 1 was a bit of a train wreck. Raw 2 is quite good. It has Hell in a Cell, TLC, Raw Rumble, and it's quite good. Like it is really, really good. I have to say there's some cool features in it, and also you could actually put your own tracks on it. So when you wanted to create whatever, you could actually put your own tracks into it, which was super fun.
That's awesome. See, I always missed out on that with the consoles that had CDs, because the cart is the cart, and that's
the cart's the cart, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't bring in like your own music, or I mean, obviously there's limited editing, creator S and all that, but you had much more scope when you were on PlayStation or Xbox.
So what's your next pick there?
I'm going to go with, and it's only one that I've played a few times, but I found I really, really hoping that it comes out on Switch because it's so deep, and it's maybe a bit less arcadey and requires a bit more commitment, but Fire Pro Wrestling.
That's a good pick. Yeah, Fire Pro Wrestling's unreal. I know Bryn hosted this show. He actually loved it so much he bought me a version of it for the PC, and I got it for the PlayStation 4. It's really good.
So it looks like the AEW game may or may not still up in the air come out on Switch, and if it doesn't, I'm going to get myself an Xbox Series S, and I have a list of games that I'm getting if I get my hands on an Xbox, and Fire Pro Wrestling is one of them because
you'd love it. Yeah,
it looks so deep. Like there's so much to it,
and also the GM mode in it is better than the one on 2K.
Well, that's the thing. It looks like something. If I had like time, like maybe like a couple of days off work around the holiday or something around Christmas, something like that, I could just get buried into that.
You need to get yourself COVID. You get a couple of days off. No, not that we're recommending you guys get COVID. Obviously, stay safe. But if you did happen to, I mean, there you go. Your time sorted. I mean, I didn't get a chance to play any games. I was too sick. But it is what it is.
It's a real bloody illness, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
You're thinking to yourself, oh, deadly. Have the old Rona week off work. And you're like, oh no. Turns out I'm incredibly ill.
I'm in bits. It's the old joke about having money when you're an adult. You have all this money to buy stuff and you have no time to play games. And then when you do, you play modern games. It's like a 42 gig update. You're like, all right, well that's the hour and a half I had for games gone. Just sit there and watch TV.
Or you save up a couple of money to a couple of quid to buy the latest game, and then Russia invades Ukraine, and suddenly you need to spend all your money on gas to heat the house.
Yeah, it's always one thing after another. Okay, so my next pick is obviously WWE SmackDown. Here Comes the Pain.
Go for it.
So I mean, a safe pick, a very safe pick, but for all the reasons that you want. I mean, it is one of those games that, well, like, even non-wrestling fans will love it. This is a game when you'd play, you go over to your mates, you had the multi-tap, and, you did the 6-way Hell in a Cell or Elimination Chamber, ladder match. This was great. It had the legends as well. It's one of those games that, look, it's not my favorite of the series, but it is incredible. And it is, it would be wrong if we didn't mention it on the list. So that's my pick.
Oh yeah, it's one of those things that it would be more noteworthy if it was omitted.
Yeah. I mean, there are some weird picks I have, but I mean, we have to go with this one. So number 3 for you, man.
WWF WrestleMania. So
okay, which one?
It's a port.
WWF WrestleMania.
Yeah, WrestleMania. So it's a port of the arcade game. I think it was out on Super Nintendo and PlayStation 1, I think.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and it
It's
was the one.
you can play it now in Token in Dublin if you want to play the actual
Yeah,
the actual
yeah. Oh,
machine.
arcade places always still
Yeah.
have it, but it's the one. It's not exactly realistic. It's like the Undertaker pulls out a headstone and hits you with it, or Bret Hart shoots hearts at you, or Yokozuna. Whenever you hit him really hard, he like sweats like like chicken drumsticks and
Well,
stuff.
it's developed by Midway, who are the guys that made Mortal Kombat. So it's basically Mortal Kombat with a wrestling skin over it,
Oh yeah, it is. It's not.
a
This is
wrestling
not
game.
a wrestling emulator.
No,
this is.
it's a fighting game basically.
It's a beat 'em up with, like you say, a wrestling skin over it.
It's
But
very fun. It's very fun.
it's fun. For me, it was nice just to be able to pick my favorite characters. And yeah, again, like with a lot of computer games, it's maybe not the best in the world subjectively, but it has a kind of a nostalgia for myself.
I know. I didn't. I remember when it came out, but I didn't really play it until recently when I started going to Token. I was like, this game's actually really good because I'm a big Mortal Kombat fan, so I've always enjoyed Mortal Kombat. And yeah, no, it's a solid pick. Next one for me is I mentioned it. WCW Mayhem came out in 1999 for the N64, PlayStation, and Game Boy Color. Game Boy Color I haven't played, but look, it's I think it's fun. I think it's the best. It's not the best WCW game. I think that goes to the Aki ones, obviously. But I mean, for this one, I just really enjoyed a lot of what it brought to the table. The pay-per-view venues were great. The sets are cool. The roster was nice and deep. Shivani and Heaton are given actually really good commentary. It was I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. The Wolf Pack and stuff was there. I enjoyed the way they had the menus. And when we're going back and watching WCW from around this time, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun because now it makes a lot more. There's nostalgia there that wasn't there before. You know what I mean? Because it was relevant when it came out, and that's the last time I really played it was when it was relevant. Jericho and Raven are in it, and anytime Raven's in a game, I'm like, absolutely, it's the reason, you know. But he was gone. They were gone, and they were in WDB at the time, you know, or Raven was back in.
Especially, man, ECW, WCW Raven was amazing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going into some ECW shows so we can watch good Raven.
Definitely, really looking forward to that.
But yeah, sorry, I saw another pick there, just real quick, because there are two kind of slash DCW games, right? So Anarchy Rules being the one I'd go for because it's so mad. Like there's a Inferno, sorry, not a Inferno match. There's a Brimstone match where you just throw people into fire and they go on fire.
I actually remember that one.
Yeah, and then there's
awesome.
The roster was good. Like, it wasn't a great game. It was pretty much Attitude. It was the exact same engine as Attitude and Warzone, and it played the same way. But it had a dumpster match, a tables match, Rage in a Cage, a backlot brawl, and a Brimstone match. So I mean, it was fun. I had a good time with it when it came out. I'd never play it again, but it didn't really do well. So that's why I'm kind of just mentioning it to be like, these were bizarre games that came out at the same time. So next pick, number 4.
For me, and I actually think this is a bit of a missed opportunity, because if you're going to go all in, okay, firstly, let me say I could just do all 5 by just going No Mercy, WrestleMania 2000, WCW NWO Revenge, WCW NWO Tour. But, you know, like you were saying, they're all sort of versions of each other.
Yeah.
So instead, what I'm going for is WWE All Stars.
Oh, interesting pick.
So it's the real souped up arcadey version. Like the wrestlers are all like roided up 1980s versions of themselves. And what I think about it was, though, it was a real missed opportunity because it was very limited to, it had all these ridiculous moves and it had the big over the top stuff, but it limited itself to just in-ring singles matches or tag matches. Like, there was such a missed opportunity there to make it absolutely ridiculous. Pull in your Hell in a Cell, your ladders backstage, you know, battering out into the street. And I think what All Stars really was just a demo for what that game could have been. I know that they tried again recently with Battlegrounds, and I haven't really played it. And I mean, have you? I don't particularly want to.
I got Battlegrounds for free on PlayStation Plus, and it's pretty terrible. It's
that
pretty terrible.
That
It's-
pause
it's-
says it all.
Oh, it's pretty terrible. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like it. I don't like anything about it.
If
Would
there's
it void? I really would avoid.
Well, if there's a version of All Stars somewhere online that you can download for less than $5, I'd give it a go.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I think it's and what's cool about that was All Stars actually linked in with that year's 2K, not 2K, the SmackDown versus Raw, so you could actually play.
Oh, cool.
You could play it as well, and then I think Legends of WrestleMania did the same thing as well. So that was cool. I thought that was a really cool feature. I'm going to go with.
But how did they go ahead and develop that level of feature, but then not develop the actual game?
I don't know. Game development is expensive and time consuming. I'll be honest with you. WWE SmackDown versus Raw 2006. Now, the game I don't really like. Right, the actual game itself I don't like. What I do like is that I can play this on the PlayStation, on the PSP, and I can always have GM mode with me. So I play this one all the time. Play it all the time.
Yeah.
I love it.
Come here,
Really
you've
good.
talked about this a few times. What is it that makes the GM mode so special?
I just like it, because when you're traveling, or because I do a lot of traveling from either work or on tour or anything like that. I mean, you just want to pass 90 minutes. It's like why you play recently I've started playing Civilization on the Vita, and it's the same kind of thing. It's like it's a good solid hour, 90 minutes. You can just sit there and play, and it's not graphic intention. You're not, you can just kind of sit back, relax, and play. And that's what I like about it. I think it's really cool. But I mean, you can go deeper as well. You can have proper feuds and all that kind of stuff. And I just think it's a really, really, it's like the best mobile game ever. And that's why I can't believe WWE didn't do it for 15 years. I know AEW did. They released it on Android and iOS. And I mean, it's the same reason why people like the soccer management games,
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of any kind of management sim games. Talked about it on the show a couple of times, where I really like, Hacker Simulator and Planet Zoo and Internet Cafe Simulator and City Skylines and Startup. I just really enjoy them. So to have that with my favorite mode ever is great. So I mean, it's totally worth it. So I mean, you can get it cheap on the PSP, and I mean, of course you can. PSPs are not expensive, but you can get it, and yeah, man, it'll just be there, and it's wonderful.
Do you think they'll ever come out with like a dial simulator and like a Stormont DLC you can download?
Oh man, that's cool. What was it? I don't know. Actually, there is a good game for that government simulator is what's called Democracy 3, and you actually can run countries and run.
Oh, mad!
That's cool. Democracy 4, I think came out, but 3 is the last one I have, and you can get Ireland and Northern Ireland and stuff like that. So yeah, if you really want to, you can run them. What was I going to say? Next pick for you there, dude.
Right. So much like your last pick, this is not a game that I thought was very good, but it had a feature that I really loved. So it's Legends of Wrestling.
Yes.
And what I loved about it was that the gameplay wasn't great.
No. This was the one that came out in between when everything kind of collapsed. WCW, ECW. It was released by Acclaim, the people who made Warzone and stuff. They made this. Actually, a good friend of the show developed these. Brian Shields. He worked in the PR. I tried to get him on actually so we can interview him. Because I interviewed him a couple of years ago. But go on. Sorry.
Good man, Brian. I hope the bits that I liked are the ones you were responsible for. So like I said, the gameplay was not very good. Even the story mode had these infuriating things where you had to win the matches in really specific ways that were just kind of awkward to do and that. But what you would get was between the matches, the cutscenes were basically just footage from like WrestleMania 3 where Hogan's slamming Andre, and you got these really cool, basically just like video packages.
Mm.
And I think it was because at the time I didn't have internet where I was living, and kind of, sure, all the old wrestling was if you could get a certain VHS, but it was just sort of whatever you happened to stumble across. And I just loved that it had all these amazing WrestleMania and wrestling moments cut into these really high quality, like WWF quality video packages. And man, sometimes I would stick the game on and just skip through the matches and just watch the cutscenes.
Fair. And I mean, that's why some of the picks here on this, they're not just, I said, you can just do the full list. But for me, I think it's a bit more of a service to kind of dig through. And like, features are why you buy wrestling games. I mean, I love 2K 20 because of the story mode. How crazy it was. But I mean, like, it predicted everything that happened in 2020 to a T. The rise of the Fiend, the rise of empty arena matches, the cinematic stuff with the Undertaker. I mean, it's all there. I can't believe it. Like, you're playing it, you're like, this is really spooky. It's on top of one of the most jankiest games ever made. So, I mean, I love 2K20. I think it's a horrible train wreck mess, but
it did give us some
bought
amazing,
it 3 times. I bought it twice.
Some amazing like GIFs and memes and stuff from the glitches in it.
I mean, don't play the game. Just the feature of it alone is great, yeah. But it's funny, to wrap it up, going from 2K20 to 2K22, the amount of people that just aren't there anymore is hilarious. You're like, the entire roster's just gone. So, I mean, even going back to some of the games, there are cool games where you can just play and you have the roster. I mean, like 2K19 has a really nice deep roster. And I mean, that's the one that a lot of people play. A lot of people who talk to now, they're like, I just like that one. And I mean, that's their game of choice. And it's like, yeah, man, cool, And to be fair, if that was the way it was going to go, I mean, all right, cool. And that's why feature is important. So I'll be interested to see what 2K add if they are developing next year.
What's the bets you get rather than, or so what do you think? Will they save it for next year, or do you think as a DLC you'll get like the Rhodes package? You have Cody Rhodes, you'll have Dusty Rhodes, you'll have Goldust, Stardust. Yeah.
I mean, if they have Stardust, I'd buy it. Yeah, I mean, Stardust the greatest gimmick ever. He is.
I remember that last week, or maybe the week before on the show, Dara sent me the link to Stardust's debut, which I'd never seen. And,
it's wonderful, isn't it?
It is debut.
I'm telling you, he's missing out. I mean, like, I'm just saying, folks. If you don't listen to the rewind, I'm a huge fan of Stardust, a huge fan of damaged Cody Rhodes and dashing Cody Rhodes. I mean, the man is talented.
They'd have to paint over the neck tattoo. Wouldn't work.
Oh, that'd be a Sarah. I mean, can't believe they sat down and let him do that to himself. It's like, it's so horrible. It's just there the whole time. Oh,
I'm getting a wrestling rewind tattoo done just here.
I mean, it would be equivalent to that. And then everyone being like, yeah. And you can't even cover that up, like. But no, some DLC packs that are coming out for 2K22. There's the Bazanza pack. So that's like Yokozuna, Maga, Rikishi, etc. The Most Wanted pack, Cactus Jack, the Boogie Man, Vader, the Stand Back pack, Hurricanes, Daisy Keebler. These are weird choices. The Clown in the Round pack, Doink the Clown, Ronda Rousey. I don't know how they're linking these together. And then the whole damn pack, Rob Van Dam, Logan Paul, Machine Gun Kelly, LA Knight, Commander Z. These are weird.
Annoys me so much. Why do they not just come with the game?
I mean, I don't know. The NWO DLC was pretty cool, and that was released with it. And then the Undertaker Immortal pack. Here's the one though, right? So the version I got to review had the Undertaker pack there, right? And how I won GM mode is I just had 5 Undertakers on my roster. So I mean, like, every match was like everyone 5 stars. It's like, I think this was an exploit you should have probably removed. So you can beat the game in about half an hour by just having the Undertaker in everything, holding all the belts. So you can't have all the Triple H's because that's the way I normally play it, where I have like 6 Triple H's holding all the belts.
6 Triple H's, so that's 18 H's. Jesus.
Anyway, Martin, that's going to do it for this edition of the Wrestling Rewind Nerd to Know Basis non-canon crossover special spectacular.
Boom, you got it. We didn't think you get it, but you got it.
I got it. So before we get out of here, Martin, is there anything you want to plug? Anything you want to share with the good people on Phoenix 92.5 FM?
No, but it's heading for 12 o'clock and I have training in the morning, but now all I want to do is boot up No Mercy and
I mean, you can do both.
Play my little heart away.
Well, what I'd say is, go to bed and then tomorrow play No Mercy.
Tomorrow I have to cut the lawn and trim the hedges. And
well, I can't help you there.
This is what we were talking about. We thought being an adult would be all computer games, and it's not.
It's not. No, it's not. Like, I'm doing a gig tomorrow, and I'm like, I have work the next day. It's just, just like, oh man, come on. But yeah, no, I feel it. But look, folks, if you enjoyed this show, please let us know. You can reach us at the_rewind to reach us on the Rewind. nerdtoknowmedia@gmail.com is you want to talk to any of us. And again, we're on our social media. Nerd to Know Basis is the show. nerdtoknowmedia.com is where you can reach everything. They're all there. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. We're not very hard to not very hard to find, not very hard to reach. We'll be back next week here on on the Rewind. Martin, what's coming up next on the Rewind? It's WCW.
It's the
Halloween Havoc.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so with the set.
If nothing else, we get the lovely set. It's the it's not the Warrior Hogan one, is it? That was 98.
No, that was 98. No, this is Hogan is gone from our time.
God, yeah, Hogan's gone after the Russo farce.
Yeah.
But
no, I haven't even looked at it yet.
If nothing else, Halloween Havoc, always a great set.
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. Again, what I like to go into those shows cold because I haven't seen them in 20 years, so I've literally no idea what's going on. We're going to boot it up and have a look. Again, that's coming up next week. We're probably going to tape during the week and then put it out. So I don't really know yet, but if not, that's our next one on the timeline. And then on Nerd to Know Basis, well, I don't know, guys. We don't do a show plan normally, so tune in and see what we're going to talk about. I think we're going to talk about Moon Knight. I think it's the next thing on the on Nerd to Know Basis, but we'll figure it out. But yeah, guys, thank you so much. We will talk to you here on Phoenix 92.5 FM, Nerd to Know Basis, and the Wrestling Rewind. Like that, guys.
Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Alright, so you're listening to the podcast, you're like, hey, I'm not in Ireland, how do I get in touch? Well, TuneIn has you covered. That's how you can check us out live when we're on the radio. You go to TuneIn and download the app, or you can check out the live streams on nerdtoknowmedia.com or Phoenix 92.5 FM. If you want to get in contact with us, it's very easy. Nerd to Know Media everywhere. Nerd to Know Media on Twitter, Nerd to Know Media Instagram, Nerd to Know Media on Twitch, Nerd to Know Media @gmail.com if you want to reach out via email. Hope to hear from you soon.
Hey, Dara, what are you doing over there in Ireland? Like with the freaking leprechauns and everything. That's not cool. You should be over there with the cosplayers. At least then you can, like, I don't know, pretend like you got, I don't know, some kind of thing going on. Yeah, you give me a Brooklyn Blaze. Yeah, with ya. Dara. Why ain't you over here going? Anyway, we're missing you, dude.
Face up, trap cuts, spell cuts, spend time to let go. I love it. All I do is just believe in the heart.
Check out the Wrestling Rewind here on Phoenix 92.5 FM every Tuesday at 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. And of course, over on nerdtoknowmedia.com, the only wrestling podcast by wrestling fans who don't hate wrestling. We'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.